What made you want to create this group?
Well, after AJ's suicide, we kind of looked around and we saw people tweeting, our school is cursed, and our district is cursed, and we were thinking about it, and it seems like every few weeks, every few months, we're all grieving, and we're all looking at a family that's grieving. And as we started to think about it, like every single person knows somebody who has died because of suicide or overdose. And that's too many people. So what we ended up deciding was that specifically Justin had made a Facebook post saying that Fort Zumwalt needs to investigate the rate of suicide. And it blew up. And then I approached and I said maybe we should be including overdoses as well because it's a similar mental health issue. And so once we started to do that, we started the Facebook group because we wanted to give people a place to share their stories and just talk about, how their experience in school was. And then once we started doing that, it blew up really, really quickly. And I think we had 2,000 people in less than a week, which really showed us that this is a problem we're all paying attention to. So once we started doing that, Justin started making a list of people that we've lost. And we made sure that they were from a mental health crisis, and we originally found 79 names. I think we're up to 83 since 2000, which is much higher than it should be. And Dr. DeBray said that if you look at any large district, you'll have the same numbers. And that's not true. In the last 3 weeks, I've spent so much time in a library doing research that the librarians know me. They know exactly what I'm researching. And part of the problem is those statistics are really, really hard to find. We ended up having to go through news stories and obituaries. But to do that, I compared Francis Howell and Parkway with Fort Zumwalt. And Fort Zumwalt is much, much higher than both of those districts, which are similar size. And one's in St. Charles and one is not. So that was kind of where we thought that we need to get the district to acknowledge this is a problem. But more than that, we also just we wanted to create a community where people who have lost people and people who have watched their friends lose people could come together and share their experiences and figure out why this is happening in Fort Zumwalt at such a high rate.
What are you hoping to get out of this group? What changes are you looking for?
The first thing I want Dr. DeBray and I want the district to acknowledge that not only is there a problem, but it is a Fort Zumwalt problem. It is not a teenage problem. It's not a Missouri problem. It is a Fort Zumwalt problem. Because unless you acknowledge the problem, we can't change anything. And then after that, we've actually worked with the head crisis counselor for the district as well as a developmental psychologist after we identified some of the key problems. And we worked out a list of solutions that we presented to the district, and we got the board was very supportive of, and we want to talk to Dr. Tabari about that. Because one of the biggest problems is we were never taught about mental health. When we were, we were taught about extreme cases. So we never learned how to recognize symptoms in ourselves. So a lot of us, and not just people who have died, but a lot of us never learned how that felt. And then when you just know that you feel bad, you aren't going to reach out for help because what are you going to say? I feel bad for no reason? Especially if you don't understand that there is a reason. Like there's depression, there's anxiety, there's all kinds of reasons that you're feeling that way. So that's one thing we really want. We want a mental health curriculum, and we want more support for students, because one of the biggest problems is that each school has one crisis counselor and 4 or 5 academic counselors. And the academic counselors can kind of help pick up the slack a little bit, but we're also expecting crisis counselors to do way too much. They can't handle 1,500 students and their complex mental health needs. They just can't. They don't have time. And we shouldn't be asking them to. And so I would like the school district should be prioritizing academics, but academics are not going to succeed unless students' mental health is there.
Do you think
I think in some instances they're doing a great job, but I think for some students they absolutely are. I think that there are a lot of stories people have shared of the Fort Zumwalt School District specifically failing them. And I think that those stories are valid, and they're something that the school district needs to see. And I'm glad that they're reading these stories, and we need them to address it and say because as people were sharing their stories, we found a lot of patterns, and that were repeating over and over again through 20 years. So if there's patterns, if they keep going if they keep repeating over and over and over again, at some point you have to stop it. You have to change something, even if it's something little, even if it's, making the early release days have mental health resources during study hall, or sending out. The school district actually does have a lot of resources, but they're impossible to find. So sending those out every semester would help. There are a million little things that would really, really help the situation, and the district hasn't tried them. And that's because, that's not because they don't care, it's because they haven't acknowledged that there's a problem. And if you can't, like I said, if you don't acknowledge there's a problem, you can't fix it.